I start this hour with the Europe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has declared that Russian energy infrastructure losses have escalated into the trillions of rubles as a direct result of continued retaliatory strikes. President Zelenskyy has emphasized that the escalating damaged refineries to fuel depots and power grids across Russia is systematically degrading Moscow's economic and military capacities. He has stressed that these targeted operations are a necessary response to the relentless bombardment of Ukrainian cities. President Zelenskyy has announced that Ukraine has officially reached a critical agreement with the United States, officials securing regular monthly deliveries of advanced anti-ballistic defense supplies. President Zelenskyy has urgently warned that while this pact is a vital step forward, significantly more military assistance and air defense systems are still desperately needed to fully secure Ukrainian skies as the conflict enters another intense phase. Now we welcome both our guests. Mr. Glenn Grant, he's a senior defense expert who joins us live from Riga, as well as Ambassador Freddy Swane. He's a former Danish ambassador who joins us live from Copenhagen. Thank you very much to both our guests for joining us. First, I would like to go to Mr. Grant for my question. Mr. Grant, we continue to see the escalating situation, and also we see Zelenskyy calling for more support by especially missile interceptors from US. But do you think that there is a benefit in calling openly for the lack of missile interceptors versus the fact that Russia will hear it and think that, okay, they don't have enough interceptors, so they might attack Ukraine more?
No, it's my answer, the simple answer to that, because Russia's going to attack more anyway. They don't need to know from public discourse with Zelenskyy that there is a shortage of missiles, because it's very obvious if missiles are not shot down that there is a shortage of missiles. So the enemy knows as much about you as you know about them in most cases. So Zelenskyy is absolutely right to get out there and to keep telling people that the missiles are needed. And you just mentioned that America is going to give some, but remember that the Patriot missiles are probably being produced at about 50 a month, which if it's lucky will cover 10, maybe 15% of the need for the attacks that are coming from Russia at the moment. So it's not going to change the price of fish, as my mother would say. But it's anything is useful, and of course there are other missiles that can be got from other countries, which will also help.
Thank you for sharing that. Coming to you, Ambassador Swane. Ambassador Swane, what's your take? Do you think that President Zelenskyy coming forward and openly calling and declaring that they need interceptors, they need Patriot missile interceptors from US, would not affect or change Russian strategy per se?
No, I agree totally with what Glenn Grant just said. I mean, we all know that Russia has a huge capacity, and they're shooting all the missiles that they have into Ukraine, and Ukraine is trying to defend themselves. But obviously, when Zelenskyy is stating that, is also to put pressure on his allies, the Europeans, and trying really to argue that US should be doing more. But things are as they are, and therefore we just see an escalation of Russian attacks into Ukraine, and Ukraine can't really let's say, defend themselves. So this is just showcasing how bad the situation is, and there's no limits on the Russian side, sadly. Those who are suffering are the civilians on both sides. And what can we do? We are doing nothing. We see a lot of meetings, a lot of declarations on the European and the Western side, and still we see many, many casualties night after night. And that's a sad logic of this illegal war. So sadly, no solution to all these requests.
Right. And building on that, coming back to you, Mr. Grant, how do you see Europe's changing stance or tone towards President Trump? We saw this through and through this, especially this year. EU has become more bold and bold about not joining with the force, not letting US use their bases, etc. Do you think part of it is Ukraine, Russia, and part of this is a West Asia conflict? How do you see it evolving?
Oh, that's a very, very, very big question. I'm not sure that anybody has got an answer on this at the moment, because a lot of it is, you can go back to Trump in the first place, and what he does with Iran is going to have an effect in the Middle East, and that effect in the Middle East is, at the moment, the big effect is dragging ammunition into the Middle East conflict that America actually needs elsewhere, and that is actually reducing the amount of weaponry available to Ukraine quite considerably. And I say available because there's no guarantee that Trump would have given it anyway, the way he's acting. So I think we're just in for more of the same for a while now. Maybe towards the winter, then we might see some changes in things. But at the moment, I think we just got this one war with Ukraine, Russia, and it's not going to change in its context. And then we have a Middle East that is reshaping itself around Iran, with people realizing America's not going to help, and America may actually be the problem in some cases. And in the middle of that, you've got a very strange changing of shape of Turkey allying itself with people outside of NATO. So just more of the same and small changes. I don't see anything big. I don't see Third World War coming in a hurry. But, we're only ever one day away from something disastrous. And I think people need to be a bit sharper, that it cannot keep going as it is at the moment forever. Something has to change, either for good or bad. But at the moment, I don't see anybody trying to do that.
Yes. Thank you for highlighting that. And building on that, coming back to you, Ambassador Swane. Ambassador Swane, what's your take? How do you see it changing, not changing, for the good, for the bad, or the status quo might drag on till the midterm elections especially are done in the US?
First and foremost, I don't see too much of a kind of link between the midterm elections, because Trump doesn't care. He has a stronger voter basis, and they're looking into what is the price of a gallon of fuel and so forth. And then on the other side, there is nobody who can really stop that war. Europe can't do it, Ukraine can't do it, Russia can't do it, and they have no willingness. So this will just go on and on and on. The only thing that can change the existing equation is if Europe is sending in, let's say, troops on the ground helping Ukraine. But I think there's a lot of hesitance on the European side to be directly involved. Now we are just pouring in money, we are buying American weaponry and so forth. So everybody is happy except those who are being targeted each and every day in Ukraine. Then Ukraine is trying really to take the war into Russia, and I think they're quite successful, but we can't measure Russia's kind of reaction with our traditional Western standards, because they have a different logic, and they don't simply care as to how many people they're losing and how much of the critical infrastructure they're losing. And we should not overlook the fact that Russia is very dependent on China. We also know that Iran is trying really to use the Caspian Sea as a new kind of place or theater for some warfare, and that will also have an impact. So whatever we get out of it, I think we will see an expansion of the Iran war into the Caspian Sea, and we'll see the Ukraine war continuing, and then it will, by that way, we'll see something worse than we have seen for the time being. And nobody has really an interest in stopping this. And so that's a sad end of this discussion of today, at least. Tomorrow it might be different. I don't think so. But anyhow.
Right, and last but not least, coming back to you, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, we have discussed about the military political leadership and military leadership change in Ukraine, but what about Russia? Russia has kept it steady from the beginning of the war till now. Why do you think so?
Oh well, because because the Russian way of selecting people is the old the old Soviet way of loyalty beats everything, and so they've just stayed pretty much the same with the same loyal people, and even when someone fails, they only move them sideways. Arguably, it's a bit like Zelenskyy as well in Ukraine, but Russia is, or let's say Putin is actually beginning to realize that he's got to start bringing back some people with competence. But this will be a slow act, because every person he brings in will be seen as a threat to him. So he can't afford to have people that are too good, in case that actually changes the paradigm of how people around him see him versus someone else. So any change is going to be steady and slow, and based upon if he believes that person is trustworthy and loyal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for sharing that insight and staying with us today.